Dorothy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to have a good time today. I am going to speed through the remarks because we want to get to the demonstration and the hands-on flower arranging. Let's see, how do I share? Our agenda today, we're going to just give you a few floral design tips and have a small discussion about floral design. We're going to do two and a half demos. We're going to show you a pavé, which is what is shown here. And we're going to show you how to make a bouquet. And then we're going to show you how to turn that bouquet into a topiary. And the pavé and the topiary are back on the table there. And then we'll have a do-it-yourself time.
Lisa, they can't hear you. So the microphone just a little closer. Yep.
Some pros and cons of getting your flowers from the grocery market. The pros are that they do come in fresh every day. All the grocery stores bring them in fresh. And they arrange them in bouquets, so you could potentially just pop them in a vase and you'd have a beautiful bouquet. You're not sure though if the flowers you picked came in today or yesterday. There might be less variety in some stores than others, and you don't get the finishes like ribbons or containers or floral foam. We have a couple of comments on when to use a professional. We feel like for your personal events, if you're just fun flower arranging, the grocery store flowers are fine. But if you have an occasion where you need a finished and professional look, it's probably best to go to a florist. But you can save some money because florists are expensive. And so we thought of some ways you could save money. You could set up and break down your event yourself. And you could take care of the smaller designs. Like if you have small designs on tables and then you have a big table, say it's a wedding and you have a big table for the wedding party, get the florist to do that. You can rent containers from florists. You do not have to purchase them. So you could do that. You could use potted plants. You could use artificials sparingly because they're pretty expensive too. But like if you want orchids, you might be able to put some orchids on a table, artificial orchids. They're often very beautiful. Also, inexpensive flowers, like carnations,
Mums, baby's breath, daisies.
Okay. Okay, so you can go to less expensive flowers. And I think carnations are beautiful. We're going to talk about more of this during the demonstration, but first you need to get a waterproof container, and we have the containers. If you brought yours though, fine, that's fine. You need, and there are different types of containers you can get, vases or jars or teapots or whatever you have around. Clippers, scissors, or a knife. And floral foam, now we're not going to show you chicken wire, but you could just cram chicken wire down in a container and then use that to arrange, to make the pavé anyway, right?
Yes.
You probably need a watering can, and of course you need water. You'll first condition the flowers by removing the leaves, and Sarah's going to show you a bit about that. We cut the stems at an angle, and then put the flowers in the refrigerator if you're not going to do them right away. And then hydrangea heads you can soak in water if they look a little peaked, and they might come back. And then, of course, buy your bouquet. And some places have greenery. We went to Trader Joe's and they have greenery bouquets. But, you know, I live near Publix and I went there while I was preparing for this class, and, you know, they don't have them. So, but just go out in your yard and get herbs or moss or limbs, vines, any sort of shrub will do for greenery. Sarah's going to talk about gridding. We're not going to do that, but she's going to show you about gridding. And then we're going to demo a pave, which is what you see here. And I put that top picture so you can see how you start out around the edges. And then bouquet basics. And you can't see this because we've covered it up, but you could potentially even put your bouquet in water and just put it down in water, even in a small shallow dish with water, and it would look really pretty. And then we're going to demo a floral topiary made with the bouquet. We have the containers back here, and we'll have to do a little bit of finagling at the end, but everybody will have a container if you didn't bring one. Okay, that's it. I'll just put this right here.
Okay, for all of you that's out there in Zoom land, we're going to transition now. We're going to turn off the screen and we're going to start focusing on the actual demonstration up here on the table. And I believe everybody here can probably see really well. We'll get this out of the way. So give us about 5 minutes and we'll get set up for the next part. Okay, thank you much.
No, they've got some. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Could we do that now while you're?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you go first? Sarah is the real florist. I'm sort of a pretender. I'm the helper.
I initially started working for a startup florist in town. I worked for her for about a year, and that was just, I had no, that was sort of the beginning. And then I went to Hall's Floral Design School in Atlanta. I've taken a ton of classes from them. I've also they have like a 3-week long, real intensive class where you learn basics and then you do end up doing a whole wedding.
Do you go every day?
It's 3 days a week. It was intense, and costly, but it was well worth it. To learn from an industry professional, someone that has been doing events for a really long time. Because it's the kind of thing where you can teach yourself a lot, especially with YouTube. I can work on my car, but I still have to go to a mechanic to get certain things done. And I did that, and now currently I work part-time for a local funeral home. They own several funeral homes in town, and they have their own florist. So then that's sort of unusual. That's not, most funeral homes go outside. They have their go-to local florist that they use. In this case, we do the floral for, all the locations in town, and the company owns. So that is my training.
And I went to the Hall's school for the basic training. She has journeyman's, she has additional training to get wedding certificate and other kinds of certificates. I've taken a lot of classes, but I don't know that I have a certificate. But it's really fun. My sister and I went down to Falls last summer. It's sort of arduous because you have to, go for 3 days and then come home and then go back. And if we went together and the car was full of flowers. But it's really fun. It's Hall School of Floral Design, and it's in a wholesale flower place, and so it's a really nice thing. And we looked around. That's really the closest. That's the only thing to go to in the Southeast. Maybe Florida has one, but there's not one in Nashville. There's one in Chicago, but Atlanta seemed like the best bet, but they're really good.
All right, are we ready to go?
I think so.
All right, good morning, fun seekers. So first, I'm going to go over just some of the materials you see here. A lot of you have probably seen this or have already used it. For those of you that haven't, I'll sort of go over it. Most importantly, I've got some snips. You want to use something sharp. If you don't, you can really mess up the bottom of the stem, and it's not going to, especially if you're using floral foam, it's going to be really hard to make your insertions. A lot of people use these knives. I am afraid to use them. I do not use them. I've got 2 coworkers with a lot of experience. One of them, this is all she uses, the other refuses to use it. So it's really up to you. I'm afraid of them, so I don't use them. Scissors usually are used for, ribbon. You can use them at home. You can use your kitchen shears for cutting flowers as long as they're sharp. They will get messed up with it. You're gonna end up buying new kitchen shears if you're using them a lot. But you can use them. I also have wire cutters here for cutting wire. And that's generally what that's used for. This is floral foam. You can get it at your local craft store. This is what we get at the wholesale florist. So it's a little, the quality is probably a little bit better. It's also more expensive. I'm guessing you could order it online through Amazon, or you can order everything through Amazon. But really, what you get at the craft store is just, for most purposes, it's going to be just as good. So the nice thing about this, however, is it's got, it's already perforated where you can cut it. So a lot of the containers you get in the wholesale place are made to fit, one of these cuts. So like this one uses half a brick. So it, but really the craft store is just fine to get these. I've got several different kinds of tape. This clear tape, generally I use for grading. I've used this heavier duty tape just so you can see it. But really, you want to use the clear tape for something like this because it's easier to cover up. You can't see it. So this heavier duty tape, I would generally use to just secure foam into a container, especially if it's moving around a lot. This is pretty tight. These are pretty tight in here. I probably won't do that. But if you do feel like you need to, this heavier duty tape is good to use. This is more for personal flowers, boutonnieres. If you have to wire in something, it just looks more like a stem. You can get it in all different colors. All of these things you can get at the craft store. So zip ties I like to use for hand tied bouquets, especially at the top. You can use wire as well. I like the zip ties for the top because I feel like it's a little less harsh on your stems, especially if you have something that's a softer stem. I feel like it's just, because you have to, wrap these pretty tight. So I feel for some reason, the zip ties, not only are they easier, but they're also a little less harsh on your stems. So, and then actually when we do the topiary, you'll see me, I will use the zip tie for the top of the bouquet, and I'll actually use the wire for the bottom. So, I've got these picks here. I just brought them, I'm not gonna really use them today. You can use them for, wiring, putting a bow into a container like this. So you can wire your bow onto these and then stick them in. You can also elongate certain stems, especially if you're gonna be using your blooms right away and they're not gonna need water, like if you're using them in an hour, you can actually, wire these picks onto the heads of flowers. So they're pretty handy. I've also got some raffia. Bow making is not my strong suit. So, and I'm getting better at it, but I love raffia. It's easy, it's cheap. You can get a lot of it. It has many uses. So raffia is great. This I use for cutting foam. I love this. A lot of people just use a big kitchen knife, but these, you probably have one in your garage that you never use. So it's a great tool. You have a question?
There's a door.
What's that?
Is that a door?
What kind of knife is this?
For like bread dough.
This? I think it's like a putty scraper.
Yeah.
I just picked it up out of the storeroom and I have, it's not really mine. So. But I use it all the time. I'm gonna buy it myself. But you can use a kitchen knife where you make sure you're with an adult. If you're gonna use it. So.
I have a suggestion. Remind people when they go to the craft store to buy their floral foam, you need to be sure to get the kind that absorbs water.
Yes.
There's also the styrofoam for silks. It's
Right.
gonna invest a lot of time and effort and have it wasted if it's not gonna water.
Yeah, and that's important. You can do everything we're gonna do today with silk flowers. You just need to make sure you get foam for silk flowers. In this case, this is wet foam, so it's gonna absorb water. The other foam that they sell for artificials will not absorb water, so you are finding a losing battle. You try and get it to absorb water, so that's a good point. And really, the concept is the same with each type. Artificials, you can do this very same thing for artificials. You just want to use glue, and you can buy glue at the craft store too. You can use your glue gun. Those actually, I think glue guns work better than the special floral glue you can buy. So I think that's all I have. Any questions so far? Okay.
The name of that clear tape, does it have a name? It's not Scotch tape.
No, it is waterproof clear tape. And you can get it I think I bought this at the craft store. I'll look it up though, because I'm not sure of the exact name of it. Okay, so when you get your flowers home, you always want to recut them at an angle, and put them in clean water. A lot of people will say to use bleach, lemon juice, pennies. You can buy flower food. You can use the powder stuff that you get with your bouquets. I am of the mind that cold water will be just fine. I have used bleach, just a small amount of bleach in the past. it helps. I mean, it keeps the bacteria out of your stones. But really, you know, in terms of my experience, I find that the water is, there's just nothing like it, you know. So, I think I'm gonna have to put this microphone down, so if I need to speak up, just raise your hand and let me know. So we are going to start with the Bouquet. For this, I bought 2 packs of roses from Trader Joe's. When you get them home, you want to remove the plastic, cut them at an angle, and remove any greenery that's going to go in your water. All that greenery will add bacteria to the water, and your flowers won't last as long. Some ways you can sort of gauge the flowers that you buy from the grocery store in terms of their health. With roses, if you squeeze the base of them, they should have sort of a hard center. If they feel soft, then they're probably rotting. So they either won't last as long, or they will sometimes fall apart in your hands. And that's, you know, and then sometimes if you don't get in trouble, you can sort of do this. And if you have a lot of petals fall off, then you don't want to buy those. You know, these are pretty good. Most of them are nowadays, but that's a good way to sort of figure out, you know, if something's healthy or not. With hydrangeas, you know, you can sort of feel the top of them and see if you feel, firm isn't the right word, but you can sort of feel the petals on them. And if they're real soft and sort of mushy, you don't want to use those. And hydrangeas are finicky anyway, so you don't want to get something that's already, you know, no good, because it's going to die pretty quick. So I learned from practicing on these something that I've forgotten. This looks like a lot of flowers for this little container. I'm going to need both of these, and I'm also going to need some greenery. Pavilions are traditionally like one color. I think that's a very pretty look. However, I think it also looks pretty to use a mixed bouquet, and use all different flowers. You can, generally you want to do sort of a round, I had an instructor that called it roundy moundy. To me, the shape is what's important, but I don't like rules. So anything that this is supposed to be fun. If you're not doing this for a client or whatever, then you know, it's supposed to be a good time, and you do you. You could put grass coming out in the middle or on the sides. You know, there's all sorts of different variations you can do. For today, what I'm going to do is just use these red roses, and then I've also got some greenery I'm going to use, because I know I'm going to get halfway through and I might run out of roses. These are real tight arrangements, but they're really something good to start out on, because they're fairly easy and they really do look very nice. They're great for Christmas, using, you know, red and green. Carnations really work well in here, and they do look very, even carnations who get bad rap look pretty elegant in these. You can stick things like little jewels in there. I think we had a picture up where my mom had made one where they actually clipped off the petals on the carnation and just used like the base of the bloom. It's pretty cute. I mean, I liked it. So so I've got some greenery here, and I'm gonna go ahead and use my colors.
I have a question about flowers that maybe the stems aren't as stiff as they arose. Can you adapt those to
You
these?
can.
You floral foam?
You can wire them. That's the best way to go. And I'll show you. I can. Flowers with softer stems, you need to wire. Usually Gerber daisies, are one, your zinnia there, you might need to, depending on what you're using it for, yeah. And I'll show that to you all, I'll see if I can't find. But you're gonna cut these really short, so, you may not need to wire it, we can just sort of feel and see it for them, but, this is what this wire is good for. And there are different ways of doing that too. Everyone has their own way of doing things, which can make it pretty confusing.
Nobody likes rules.
Right, nobody likes rules, that's right. There are, one thing that a lot of roses have what are called guard petals on them, and they look like little itty bitty petals on the side. I don't think I have any here. These spray roses over here have them. I don't know, especially with more traditional work. I like the way they look. I think they offer a little variation in color sometimes, but really, in professionally, you're supposed to take them off. But like I said, I don't like roll fingers. So with this pave, you want to put your foam, you can use it in any shallow container, like this. I'm gonna move this out of the way. You could do one in this. You could use it in a square, you could do one in a square container. You could make a square pave, even though that's not, they're supposed to be round, but like I said, rules are meant to be broken. You do want your foam to sit up, because what we're gonna do is start inserting directly in, so that the bud of the flower, the head of the flower is right up against the rim. So if you were to cut it so it goes flat up against the rim, what's gonna happen is your flowers the stems are gonna start running into each other, and you're not gonna have enough room. And this is gonna be a good amount of insertion, so you just wanna sort of get an idea, of how high you want your foam. If you have it too high, you're gonna make something like this, so, which is fine, you could do that, but for these, for something that's roundy moundy, this is a pretty good proportion. Flowers are pretty resilient. You can keep these in a bucket of water next to you if you want. I am guilty of putting all of mine out like this, and being messy. If you're working fast, then that's okay. I mean, they're not going to suffer too much. They can take a lot. A lot of people are scared to deal with them, but they're really pretty resilient, in terms of tugging and pulling, and stuff like that. So these have some leaves that are getting ready to fall off, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull them off. You want to pull off any leaves that have been damaged, petals that have been damaged, that look brown, just go ahead and pull them off. And then you want to gauge where your insertion is going to be. So I want the head of this flower to be right against the rim of the container. You don't want to cut it too long because like I said, you don't want all the stems to run into each other. However, it's better to cut it too long initially, because you can't, then you're out the whole flower. So I'm just gonna get going here. And that's probably too long for my purposes, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it a little bit shorter. For your stems that have a lot of them have nodes on them, you wanna try and cut above that, because
If it's bigger than the stem itself, you're gonna have some wiggle room in there. Also, if you say, oh no, I didn't place that correctly, I need to pull it out. It's okay to pull it out. A lot of people will tell you to go ahead and just snip it out and leave the stem in there. I think it's okay to pull it out, just don't reinsert it into the same hole. So always use a different, so if I'm gonna pull it out, I don't want to reinsert anything in there. And that has to do with the water, it's not gonna get, there's gonna be an air pocket in there, so it's not gonna get water.
So have you already soaked the foam?
Yes, and thank you, I meant to go over that. With this floral foam, you don't need to dunk it down in water and push on it. Just fill it in your sink, plop it in and give it 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it will submerge itself. You don't have to force it. It should just, do what it's meant to do and absorb all that water. If you cut into it and you see a little dry streak in there, just throw it back in the water. So I'm just gonna start by going all the way around the base of this container.
Are you cutting that stem at an angle?
I'm trying, yeah. As sharp as an angle as you can get, not only so it can soak up as much water as possible, but also so you've got a nice point to get into your foam. And because I know I'm going to run out of roses, I'm gonna just do little spurts of greenery in here. This is very limited, but you can really use what's available. You can really use a lot more than you think. So you can, I've got a longer stem here. You can cut it right at the base of where this sort of next foliage is growing. So you can really make, one stem of this go a long way. And you're just sort of gonna build on it, do one row, do the next row. You can do it out of order if you want, but I would always recommend doing this base row first. And if you find after you're done that you see greenery, if you see some of the foam, you can always go back in, add it and cover, especially if you have extra greenery.
You have more than 2 dozen roses there?
They're 2 dozen, yeah. And really, I thought I could get away with using 2 dozen when I did this the other day, but I think with carnations, you could, especially if they're open, you could probably get away with using less and they're less expensive. These were $10 for a dozen, which is pretty darn good, and they're good quality. The Trader Joe's has pretty good quality flowers. Even, I got a dozen roses from Food City a couple weeks ago. And they were pretty good. So
How long do you think that would last?
once I'm done with this,
Yeah.
If you kept it inside in your air conditioning, probably maybe 3 days, 4 days, maybe longer, depending on carnations, probably a week or 2.
We did those on Thursday.
Yes. Yeah, those were done on Thursday. I've got a topiary in my cooler at my studio that I did 2 weeks ago. And it's got a hydrangea in it, and it's still good. But it's been in the cooler for no one to see, So, and really, the wholesale flowers are better quality. However, you have to buy them in bulk. So if I go to the wholesaler to buy roses, I have to buy 25. I can't buy half a pack,
When you use hydrangeas, do you pound the stems?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
How do you keep them from wilting?
Okay, I've done all sorts of things. There's a solution called Quick Dip that I've used that seems to help the life of them. But maybe just, I don't know. I really don't know how much it's helped, but you can actually use that for other sort of fragile flowers, and it seems to help them for a couple days. I've also heard people will cut. I'll show you. I've got one for our next demo, but cut right through the stem like that instead of counting it. Yeah. I've heard of people using, is it alum? That's supposed to really help. I have not done that myself, but it's worth a try. What we do is if we get some that are starting to look sort of bad, they get what we call, we baptize them. So we just drop their heads in a full sink. And some of them will spring back, you know, some of them that look like they're done for will come back from the dead and they'll just spring back to life. I've not used hydrangeas from my, I have native hydrangeas in my yard, so I don't use them. They're just not, I don't know. I don't want to use them. But I have heard people, like we did some arrangements the other day that someone brought their own hydrangeas for them from their yard and they were beautiful and they lasted. I mean, they looked great. So, you know, it's really, now if you do that, be careful because I've heard horror stories of like spiders and bugs and, you know, all sorts of things that I don't like.
Worry about watering that while you have it when it's finished.
Yeah, I would for something like this, this foam, it really holds a good amount of water. I would add water every couple of days, maybe every day, just to be on the safe side. Using something like this would be good because it's got that point and you're not putting water everywhere. Be careful if you overwater it, it will overflow and you'll get water all over whatever whatever surface you have it on. You can, for a finished arrangement, they make a spray called Crowning Glory. I don't know what the brand name is that they have. I think they have it at Hobby Lobby. And it's basically wax. And it's supposed to sort of give everything a shiny look and kind of lock in moisture.
What's it called?
It's called Crowning Glory. That's what we get, you know, that's what florists buy. I think they have some at Hobby Lobby. I'll have to check. I'll look on my phone while you guys are doing your DIY. So, okay. So this is what it looks like. I'm gonna spill water. It's pretty straightforward.
You used about a dozen roses.
Yeah, I did. And you wouldn't think. You really wouldn't. I mean, yeah. So it can get real expensive real quick. And that's why I went and got greenery. So I do have extra flowers if you guys decide that this is what you want to do today. I've got flowers and greenery. If not, that's fine. But like I said, that's why carnations are really, really nice to use. So, and that's also why I've got my greenery. So, and then when you make your next row, just, you know, keep in mind where everything's gonna sit. And like I said, you can always come through and add if you see foam. When I work, I prefer to have something up a little bit higher than this is because you know, you can lift it up, but it's really better to see things at high level. They are, and especially when I come up here at the top, they'll get a lot longer. But you don't want to push them in too far because you'll end up running into your other stems. So it's sort of, you really have to just use your best judgment in terms of how short you're gonna cut them. Yeah, I'm gonna let my mom finish.
How would you incorporate a little baby's breath in something like that?
Let's see. I don't have any, but I'm gonna use something like wax flour. This is called wax flour. I have not seen any in the grocery store, but it's really fun and it's inexpensive. So, and it's sort of similar. It's woodzier and it gives a little better coverage than baby's breath. With baby's breath, you can kind of see through it. So if you're gonna use baby's breath, try and use some that's really bloomed out a lot so that you have as much coverage for your foam as possible. But what you could do is just kind of gauge where you want your blooms to be. I'm gonna cut this top off here. So everything's sort of the same. And like I said, you can always cut it shorter if you need to, but you can't cut it longer. So you just sort of, yeah. And I've actually picked these red roses because I was like, I can incorporate some of this in there. But you can use things in your yard, and I like to tell people that. I know this seems like cheating to me, because we're talking about grocery store flowers, but if you're gonna make something that's, design something like this, maybe for a dinner party, you're gonna want a lot of greenery to cut down on the cost of your blooms. Carnations look beautiful, and I mean, they're just gorgeous. So don't sleep on them.
Okay, we'll look out of the corner of your eye if you see me doing something wrong.
These are really, really easy. I mean, and once you sort of get in the groove, it doesn't take that long. So something like this could really, once you get in your groove, take maybe like 20 minutes once you get really moving, and especially if you have a lot of greenery flowers that take up a lot of space.
You mentioned that halls, so you said you went 3 days and then you would have to go back.
It was, 3 weeks long. Yeah, for 3 days. So I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's all day those 3 days. So you end up with a lot of flowers and shove into your car, and then you don't know what to do with them when you get back. It's just, and they're big pieces, so you get to do some big pieces.
I usually tear them apart and make them into something else.
So do they have that frequently, or is that just?
That particular class, they do 4 times a year, one for each season. I think now this could have changed. They had limited the amount. I mean, they always limit the amount of people, but I think they limited it even further with COVID. So I think in my class there were 12 of us. So and that was enough. I mean, it's pretty intense, but well worth it. If they also do single classes that are really beneficial as well. And they have all sorts of subjects. They've got a bouquet class just for making hand-tied bouquets. They've got just a centerpiece class.
Is that Halls in Knoxville?
In Atlanta.
Okay.
And she has gotten, that's all she does is teach those classes. And she does weddings, but she only does a certain amount. And I think now they've got different instructors. If it's something that you're interested in, I think it's well worth it. It's sort of hard to get, if you don't have any training, just like with anything else, it can be hard to even get work,
I've looked lately and they have some open classes this fall. I think they had table scapes. Maybe glass class. I had a few that were fun. Surprisingly, the tribute class is pretty fun. That's the funeral flower class. But,
Yeah.
I made a wreath in that class and I hung it on my door.
Yeah, that's a great class to take, even if you're not interested in doing, funeral work, because you use a lot of mechanics. So you really, really can learn how to, people ask for all sorts of crazy things, so you can really learn a lot from that class. It's a good class.
What's the tuition,
I think it's gone up since I'm not sure. They have it on their website. So the nice thing about these bouquets you get from the grocery store is that you don't have to arrange them yourself, right? So I'm sort of losing the whole idea of them selling them like this, right? You can do something like I'm gonna do with the bouquet that's already, been arranged. You could really just get what you get from the store, tie it up, stick it in here, or you can put it in a vase and put some greenery around it, good to go. And that's really, it's nice now that you can do that. But if you want to do something a little different and fun, you can really do a lot with these. But just like with the pave, you need other things, greenery. You can even buy, sometimes the grocery stores will have just these, or just, carnations. And so you could buy a little extra just so you have extra. Okay, so when you do a hand-tied bouquet, and this is called, I think it's called a spiral bouquet, and you're gonna use just a couple different types of flowers, you really wanna start grouping them. So, you wanna put all these mums together so that you can sort of see what you're working with. And the thing is, though, that with these, there are just a lot of different types of flowers. So you don't really have to worry too much about that. These all look pretty good. And while you're, kind of going through what you have, go ahead and strip off any greenery. You can do this again later, but it's good to have something that you work with. Many of us florists aren't known for our neatness, so it can get messy. If you're at your house doing this, put down a towel. Do not let your cats jump up on your workspace and eat the flowers. Lilies are highly toxic. If you drop something on the ground, don't let your dog eat it. Even these Astromeria are toxic. So I had one of my cats ate a leaf off of a calla lily plant that I had. He was fine, but we still had to call poison, because they're super toxic. So make sure you have sort of a space that it's going to be okay if you get it a little messy. For these, I've got a lot of these lower stems I'm pulling off because they're going to end up getting smushed, but I'm going to keep them because when I put this bouquet in here, I can still use them. So really anything you pull off, you know, try and save it unless it's something, you know, this isn't gonna do me much good, so. And I, you know, really you can clip these off, but I find in terms of time, and especially if, you know, if this isn't something you do often, you can just pull off this stuff. The roses that you get generally are gonna already be deformed, so you don't have to worry about them. You can buy these, I don't really have one. These nifty, they're not expensive, and you can just pull down on the rose and get all the thorns off, or you can clip them off. To me, that's faster. I don't know why, it doesn't seem like it would be, but. Okay, so. And then with lilies, if they're open, you want to pull out the, I don't even know what they're called. Yes, you want to pull them out. They will stain your clothes. Be careful. I've had many a t-shirt fall victim to that. And this guy. And if you got a bud, like I had a lily that you can just clip off the stem from it. I probably won't use these. This is a pretty small container, so I don't want this giant bouquet in this little itty bitty container. But I'm gonna open these. I'm not gonna strip them like I did those, but just in case I need. Stripped. So full disclosure, I've been told I do this backwards. This is, there's no one right way to do these. It's very awkward at first. So I feel like if you find a way that works for you, I think you go with that. I'm going to show you the basic idea of it, however, but really, like I said, I think I'm pretty sure I did this backwards, but I can make really nice bouquets in a pinch. So to me, it doesn't, you know, whatever works. Right? So you don't have to start with any one flower. I'm going to go ahead and start with this just because it's got some bulk to it. You want to hold it in between your thumb and your finger like this loosely. You don't want to, you know, hold it too tight. And then you sort of just add in some more blooms. Don't worry so much about the placement. That can be changed. That's when you hold it loose, and you'll see eventually you'll look up and maybe pull some stuff out. I can add some things in to where I want it. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to worry too much about placement, maybe a little, but you know, for this, I would just suggest starting to add stems as you want them. And then you might, this is really cramping my style, so pull that out. A lot of people like to do groupings of different flowers, so they'll do 3 roses, 3, you know, carnation. You know, a lot of people like to do groupings. You can also do them with one type of flower. You can do them with all greenery. I've seen some beautiful bridal bouquets that are all greenery. I'm not sure if it's still in style or whatnot yet these days, but it's quite lovely. And then stuff like this, you can just kind of throw in, and you can always, you know, rearrange it as you like. when you add them in at an angle like this, maybe a 45-degree angle. And if you're going to add them to the back, so these are going from left to right, you're gonna want to, if you want to add them in the back, do it right to left. But as you can see, that's very awkward the way I'm doing it. So I add them all in the front. So I'm going to use 3, and then I'm going to grab it, move it. And see, this is a little mini Gerber. I could wire this and I'll probably save it. But for this bouquet, it's going to be tied up so high. You know, and this stem feels pretty good. But I am going to set it aside so I can show you the hot wire. Just grab it. And just keep that. And like I said, now I've got a base, and I can sort of look, and this will sort of stick out a little bit. But I tend to like everything to be round and tight. That's not for everyone. My mom is better at doing sort of more airy, and I won't say fun, but I mean, for her it's fun and that's great. It's just I have actually a harder time with stuff like that than I do real tight, matchy. This is even, a little hard for me because I like everything to match. So, but if we don't try new things, we don't learn new things. So, and this is looking a little flat, so I'm just gonna. And then if you see, like I see a spot right here, I feel like it's, I need something to go there. I'm just gonna twist it around. I'm gonna add something right here. And then if you see some stems in your way, just sort of, if you can't pull it off, you can always flip up. I'm gonna add some sunflowers. And let's say I'm gonna show you if I want a sunflower in the middle, and I didn't put one in there. That's why you want to hold this pretty loose. You can just, and this is a big stem, so you just sort of feel around. Just pull it right through. You can pull them out and put them back in somewhere else. So like I said, don't worry too much about placement. It'll come together. Okay, so this is, I think, beautiful the way it is. However, when you look at it like this, it looks a little bit junky. Even if you pulled off all your leaves, it's still, I don't know. It just doesn't look finished to me. So that's where your greenery comes in. And this is called collaring. You do these with hand-tied bouquets, so you sort of minimize all these, you can't see the stems on the bottom. You can even do this after you tie them. can even pull it up a little bit so that there's some sticking out. These can get real big real fast. I've got large hands, so it's, you know, which is a good quality to have when you make these. But you may, you know, just be wary of your, if you don't think you can hold on to something like this for this long, get some help. I've had my husband grab them for me before. And sometimes things just, they don't want to do what you want them to do. And you have to use something else. Okay. So like I said, you can just use this great bouquet that you get from the grocery store, tie it, and do this with it, or you can rearrange it. Either way, when you are ready to tie it, you can get help from your nice mother. You could do this yourself, you're probably gonna end up using your teeth, you know, so. And these can get very large. This is pretty manageable in size. Get it as tight as you can. You can even push it up. And you can use wire for this. You can use tape. You know. Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. And so you could, like my mother was saying a little bit ago, you can actually just cut these. I'm gonna see if I can do it. Sometimes it takes a couple tries. If I can't, then I'm not gonna spend too much more time doing it. But you can try and cut them, you know, so everything's the same length, but you want to do anyway. And you can get like a shallow dish, sort of like, what was your name? Yeah, sort of like that. Fill it with water and set it up in there. This is a little long, but you get the idea. You can stand them up. I'll cut it a little shorter and try one more time. It takes a little while sometimes. But I think these bouquets standing straight are gorgeous. What's that?
Just don't bump into it.
Right, exactly. You put it like high up on a shelf somewhere. You know. And a lot of times when you see pictures, they'll do that. I mean, you know, it's really impressive to just have something standing like this, because not, you know, this is hard to do. A spiral bouquet is hard, and also just to get it to stand is hard. And I'm usually pretty good at it, but I've got a little performance anxiety. Not, I'm just gonna move on. And really, the more stems you have, I mean, these can really pop out. So that looks really nice in and of itself. You can kind of shorter, longer. I'm gonna cover this up with raffia later, but you can use ribbon, you know, whatever you have, and you all are welcome to this if you decide you want to do this. But I am going to make a topiary with this. These look really nice with just one type of flower. They also, I think they look nice like this too. It's a little more, you know, wild looking, but I don't mind that so much. So what we're gonna do is, I mean, in order to get this to get into my phone, I need to wire the bottom of it. So I've got this wire, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and, I think I wanna stick this in here. How does that look like a good place? Okay. So I'm gonna wire it on the top, right, a couple inches, maybe an inch and a half above. And I'm just gonna pull this as tight as I can. And this is fun. And just. Get it as tight as you can. This is the easiest way to do it rather than try and, my nails are a mess. You don't want to do your freshly manicured nails and try and do stuff like this because it'll break. And then just get these. When we put this in here, we really want it to be sort of like a stake. We want a point. It will just help you get it in because these take sort of a lot of elbow grease to get in. Sometimes you need help. I've gotten so I do pretty well, and don't be if this is tight, so you're not going to lose anything. You may lose a petal or two.
Is that what some people use that knife for?
What's that?
That knife, I know you're not using the knife, but do some people use the knife for that purpose?
Yeah, and that scares me.
But that's what.
Yeah, well, and some people use the knife just to cut their stems. Like they find a real. If I knew how to do it, I would show you, but I won't. And they have to be sharp. I mean, you'll cut. I cut myself without even using it, especially even with rose thorns. I mean, you get to so you're kind of immune stripping them, and then one day they'll just tear right through you. So. Okay, so I've got sort of a point right here. This is a big chunk of stem that I don't want to use. Okay. And then I am just going to find a center. If you have even a oblong container and you want to do it on one side, then you can really, the world is your oyster. You just I'm actually going to put it down on the table here. You don't want it to touch the bottom, so you want it to be still in the foam. You don't want it to, go past the foam on the bottom. So now we have the base of our topiary. Really, you can add whatever you want to cover up this. You can add moss. Moss is a great thing to use. If you're going to use moss, you can get greening pins, which are, I don't even know, they're just little pins that you can put the moss over and stick over it. But I make them with wire, so I just put a little wire into like a U shape. So that's less supplies you have to worry about if you already have wire.
That wire that you have, does it just come in a pack in those pre-cut straight lengths?
Yes, and when you get it wholesale, you have to buy it in giant, and they have different gauges, so you can get a thinner one, or you can get there even thicker ones. So, and Hobby Lobby, I think, sells them in boxes, small, slender boxes. I love this. It offers a lot of coverage. It really, okay, so this guy, he's curved up, so he stuck out of the top of my phone. Greenery holds up pretty well. It really isn't gonna get too mad at you if you mess up. And then your leftover flowers, you can go to town with this. You can use all of the same thing. I could use all these palms. that looks really, really nice, and neat. It's especially nice if you have one type of flower. Because this, while I like it, I've said that I like matchy, and so, you know, it can start for me to get a little messy, but, you know, they're pretty, and you just have to sort of let yourself go. And this little hydrangea part, he just fell off, and I'm gonna use him. The hydrangeas are great for this, actually. They offer a lot of coverage. You can use one. I could probably use this hydrangea right here and fill up almost this whole container. So. And I forgot about this guy. You can put sticks, you know, going throughout. You can get those little, there's like birds and butterflies attached to wire, and you can stick, you know, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with this. And for the base of these, you really want to cut pretty short to get as much coverage as you can. Otherwise, you're doing this for a really, really long time.
You're trying to cover up your wire too,
Yeah, and I think
or you could just cut it off.
I could cut my wire off at this point, this bottom wire, or I could come in with, you know, some taller flowers and just cover it up. I could put raffia over it. So it's really what you want. Sometimes I like using these palms real flat, and then I like getting another flower. Baby's breath is a good one. This wax flower is a good one, and have it come up this way, and that's really nice. This is mountain mint from my mom's yard, and I love it. It smells awesome. It offers a ton of coverage. It looks pretty. It's hard. It's a little short to use for your bouquet, but it's great for something like this, and it would also look great in a bouquet. So herbs are one. Even just regular old mint looks really nice in arrangements, and it smells good. So sort of good. Okay. So. This is probably gonna take me a little bit. Anyone have any questions?
Question about mountain mint, Dorothy, did you get some seed or did you?
I got it at the fall festival or the spring festival. And it was from Reflection Mining.
Okay.
Did great, yeah. That comes back. And in fact, you know, I had to cut it.
Oh, so it spreads like
It's
crazy.
like,
I was about to say, I've always heard mint was kind of,
yeah,
it'll get away from you if you're not careful.
yeah, well, it was convenient, you know, for flower arrangements.
And she brought this to me 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. Yeah.
It was in the refrigerator.
It was in the fridge, but the fridge smells good now.
When I started factory, I cut, I think this is Diplodia, and it has a milky sap. Does that mean that it's just not gonna be really good?
I mean, you'll get you'll get it all over your hands, but otherwise, I mean, as long as you don't mind it getting on stuff. Like eucalyptus, I use eucalyptus a lot, and it's dirty. It gets your hands real sticky.
It's not gonna contaminate.
I don't think so. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Really, what's going to contaminate anything is your stems having any foliage on them. So as long as you, like if something like that, if you cut it to exactly where the leaf is gonna hit your, you know, the edge of your container or whatever, it should be okay.
You want to start soon.
Yes, and I'm gonna let you guys get to it. I'm almost. And sometimes I'm guilty of this. I want to keep adding stuff and adding stuff and adding stuff. And this isn't right and that's not right. You know what? Nobody's perfect. The flowers often grow how they want to grow, and they don't ask you, you know, what you want them to do. And say I come back tomorrow and this is real ugly and nasty looking, I can just come in here and flip it right off. You don't have to pull it out and redo everything. And then all I'm gonna do now is just cover up that zip tie. Some raffia. And then you can sort of, just looks a little lopsided. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm trying not to worry about it. And I'm not even gonna make it to a bow. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. Just cut this. So I'm just trying to find the best part of it, if you can, you know, if you can, and that's it. So, we have containers. I see a lot of you have your own. You don't have to do either one of these things that I did. You can do you and do what you'd like. I do have containers both for the paves and for topiaries. I've got plenty of extra flowers here. I've got some greenery. You're welcome to anything I've got up here.
And we've got some containers too that, I mean, I went to Goodwill and bought containers for the topiary. They needed to be, you know, not clear.
Yeah, and you,
then she bought some containers for the paves that are shorter containers, and some of them are prepared, but we might have to put some of them together.
So depending on what you guys want to do, if you want to let us know. Yes, ma'am.
This up the property that you finished.
Well, let's get Sarah to say if it looks okay.
I think it looks beautiful. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent work.
And I like the stuff sticking out.
Yeah. She's got, you
And
know,
I made one with just a variety of flowers, and I thought
it was really cool. She made one with something just like this, and it was gorgeous. So, and these are great for Christmas time. Like I said, if you want to use artificial flowers and make one, you can just put it in your closet whenever Christmas brings out. And like I said, they're simple and they're fun and they're quite stunning. So
If we're gonna use some the floral foam today, do we have enough time how it needs to soak?
I've got some soaking and I can cut it for you.
Okay.
Even I should have those cube glass containers are great. You can wrap sleeves around your phone. You can get waterproof ribbon. Put it around. So you can use glass for this. I just unfortunately don't have any more.
They made a lazy Susan, so you can turn it around and see it on.
Yeah. And also, depending on your height,
you really, really want to go, you know, it's really helpful to have something, it's not maybe not islandable, but close to it. I've got a coworker that's about this big. And so she can't see from the top, and so I look sometimes to make sure there are no holes, but she can't see.
You gonna do?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. That I got from class. What I brought from people.
Was it?
We're gonna do the pave. Hello. Got some eucalyptus. What are you gonna do? The topia or the pave? Yeah, Kev's getting a pave. If you want to do topia, or you can do pave too, just whatever you want.
I'll do topiary and chat to do
Yes. But you're gonna need to get the topiary. Tell them you want a topiary container up there. Do you mind to hold this? Nothing in particular. Thank you very much. I know this is not your favorite thing. Perfect.
And I have more of these. So I
These are my, I gotta grab that thing. Go ahead. I've just gotta grab this. Hey. Yeah.
Season 4 wants to know. I don't know.
Do you want me to go ahead? She's on the phone with Carol right now.
Okay.
So we're gonna see.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So we keep showing until the end. Answer it until it's a yes.
Okay.
So are you gonna keep?
Yep, I'm gonna try to get this set up and sitting so it can just sort of, you know, sit there and take you what you want. But thank you.
Questions or you
No, you're fantastic. And yes, thank you so much. That was so nice. You can see you and volunteer hours at the same time. Can you, do you know how to read directions?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, because I've been having a hard time with that.
Seems like first you gotta download the app.
I do, I have it. Mom, that's a good thing. I love these. I thought they were cool. I have some of those at home. Oh, excuse me.
We're just going to film a few people, get their stuff ready, and then I'll take it and say thank you.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to keep going around or do you want to? I think there's about 5 minutes and then I'll get on there. Okay, perfect.
That's still hell.
This is how I do it.
What is that? Is a stabilizer. Here. We'll just- We'll do it in a few minutes. Yes, that's what I needed. Okay. Okay, get that back on there and then we'll put the stand on it.
Yes, it's very awkward.
Okay. Get that little in the corner, it's in the box.
And this time,
What do you want? You're not supposed to use your hands.
Well, okay. It's got the stand. So I can just sit on the table. Then how do I get it though, like sideways?
Hit the M.
Whoa, this is crazy. See, I need it.
May not be.
Yes, you are.
What do you want to do there?
All right, Carol. Carol, we've got the thing working, so if people just want to stay on, now it's not even an issue. Or...
I'm gonna take this one over here. And she's making one, so I'll let her see it.
It's crazy when you pull it apart, what else you there are.
You're being filmed. Whoops. Well, we were.
But wrap it on an easier waterproof ribbon and then like bring it up like wire or or even put a frog. Put a frog down. Yeah. And then you
Okay, to everybody out there in the audience. Okay, we thank all of you for coming to our Saturday class this week, and remind you of what we will have next week, next month actually, will be on lawn care for the fall. And we look forward to having all of you to join us. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to send your evaluations to us and let us know what you learned from the class or things that we can improve or some classes that you would like to see, please just send us a note, and we thank you very much. We'll see you next month. Bye for now.
Well, I missed, is there foam that has been soaked that's ready for this? Is there foam that is ready?
I think she's got some over here in the sink. There you go, Haley, turn it off.
All right,
We're finished.
there we go.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you all for attending. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we'll see you next month.
Well, thank you for doing it on Zoom. It's very convenient.
Oh, good. We'll keep it up. You know, this is the best one so far. So we'll keep working out those technical issues, and we will definitely keep doing this. And it is, it is streaming live on Facebook. So we'll you can go back and look at it again on our Facebook page.
Oh,
If
that's
you're
good.
on Facebook.
What is your Facebook page?
It's here, I'll just hang on one sec. I'm just gonna go there and hang on, let me just end it first. I'm sorry.